Thank you all for joining us. I'm very pleased to introduce 4 distinguished members of the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department who have agreed to talk to us today about reforms that are being made in Abu Dhabi to attract foreign investors and to attract businesses. We're joined by Judge Sultan Al-Nayati, who will speak first. He will be followed by Dr. Ahmed Abdul Zahir of the Judicial Department, by Ms. Chloe Veronica Siron, and then finally by Judge Oren Whiting. Again, thank you all for joining us today. If you're not speaking, the protocol is please to mute your workstation so that we don't hear any background noise at your end. If you have questions, please put the questions into the chat function. We will get to questions at the end. With that, I'd like to hand the microphone over to Judge Sultan. Judge Sultan, ahlan wa sahlan. Thank you very much. And Judge Sultan's remarks will be translated in real time by Ms. Fatin Hafiz. Judge Sultan, ahlan wa sahlan. Tafaddal.
قاضي سلطان تفضل بإلقاء الكلمة. Yes.
نعم. أصحاب السعادة والسادة الكرام، تربطنا مع الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية علاقات استراتيجية وتاريخية عريقة، ونتطلع إلى تكملة المسيرة بمزيد من التعاون في المجال القانوني والقضائي على وجه التحديد. واسمحوا لي أن أنتهز هذه الفرصة في أن أعرب عن شكري واعتزازي البالغ لغرفة التجارة الأمريكية على دعوتهم الكريمة للمشاركة في اللقاء الحيوي ضمن الظرف الاستثنائي العالمي. ويسعدني أن أرحب بزملائي المشاركين والحضور الكريم.
لو سمحت لي. Excellencies and gentlemen, we have long-standing historical and strategic relation with the USA, and we look forward to continue this relation with more cooperation in the legal and judicial field in particular. Allow me to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to the American Chamber for their generous invitation to participate in delivering a speech in this vital meeting under the exceptional global circumstances. And I'm pleased to welcome my fellow participants and attendees. جدج سلطان أنا ألحق.
نعم.
رح أكون وراك.
حرصت دائرة القضاء إن شاء الله. حرصت دائرة القضاء بإمارة أبو ظبي منذ إنشائها على اعتماد أرقى السياسات والنظم.
Since its inception, the Judicial Department in the Emirate has been keen on adopting the best practices and policies.
وأحدث المعايير والتقنيات من أجل بناء مؤسسة قضائية قوية قادرة على مواكبة التحديات التي تواجه عالم المال والأعمال التجارية.
And it adopted the latest technologies and systems in order to build a strong judicial.
عبر اعتماد الأولوية الاستراتيجية المتمثلة في تعزيز فاعلية واستدامة العمليات القضائية وضمان سهول الوصول الشامل للخدمات بهدف تحقيق قضاء عادل وناجز.
So it adopted the latest technologies in order to build a strong judicial system capable of coping with the challenges facing the world of finance and business by adopting the strategic priority of enhancing effectiveness and sustainability of the judicial processes, ensuring easy access to comprehensive services, and delivering just and efficient justice.
ومن هذا المنطلق اعتمدت الدائرة منذ بداية نشأتها على التخصص القضائي كركيزة أساسية من مقومات النظام القضائي للإمارة من خلال إنشاء محاكم منازعات والقضايا بين فئة معينة من فئات المجتمع.
So from this standpoint, ADJD has relied on judicial specialization as a basic pillar for establishing the Emirate judicial system. So work started to create specialized courts to hear disputes and cases according to the type of parties.
نعم، محكمة أبو ظبي التجارية التي تختص بنظر المنازعات القائمة من التجار وبعضهم البعض أو الناشئة عن ممارسة عمل تجاري ولو كان أحد الأطراف.
So among these courts, Abu Dhabi Commercial Court has been established to have jurisdiction over disputes between traders or disputes arising from practicing a commercial business, even if one of the parties is not a trader.
وقد اعتمدت محكمة أبو ظبي التجارية من خلال استحداث دوائر ابتدائية واستئنافية متخصصة في نظر ومنها العمليات المصرفية والمقاولات المركز المالي وما يتعلق بتأسيس الشركات التجارية والاستثمار الأجنبي، فضلاً عن المسائل المتعلقة بالملكية الفكرية وبراءات الاختراع وإجراءات التحكيم وكذلك قضايا الأمور المستعجلة.
So Abu Dhabi Commercial Court has followed subtle specializations in its work by creating first instance and appeal circuits, specialized in hearing commercial cases including banking operations, construction, bankruptcy, restructuring of companies, and related claims of incorporation and foreign investments, as well as matters related to intellectual property, patents, arbitration procedures, and urgent matters.
ومع تحديد دوائر متخصصة لحسم النزاعات الناشئة عن الاستثمار الأجنبي واستحداث مكونة من قضاة محليين وخبراء دوليين للنظر في المنازعات والقضايا التي تدور بين المستثمرين الأجانب في تملك الشركات والمنشآت التجارية لأكثر من 120 نشاط تجاري، فضلاً عن الحصول من المتميزين.
Okay, ADJD has now specialized chambers to resolve disputes resulted from foreign investment. We have circuits with local international experts, judges, to consider disputes arising between foreign investors and residents. Foreigners now can own companies and commercial establishments for more than 120 commercial activities, and permanent residence visa may be given to outstanding investors.
انتهيت أستاذة فاتن؟
نعم.
نعم، وقد حققت رؤية الدائرة الاستراتيجية إلى رفع مؤشر معدل الفصل في القضايا بانخفاض متوسط الوقت المستغرق للفصل في القضايا التجارية بنسبة 73%، بما يتجاوز الفترات السابقة على إنشاء المحكمة. الفصل في القضايا من 180 2020، وفي الوقت نفسه بلغت نسبة إنجاز القضايا في العام الماضي بمتوسط 95%.
ADJD's strategic vision has helped in raising the rate of case disposition and reducing the average time taken for adjudication commercial cases by 73%, i.e. more than twice above the time taken prior to the establishment of the court. The average time for resolving cases decreased from 180 days to 49 days in 2020. At the same time, the rate of case disposition reached 95% in the past year. أيوة حضرة القاضي.
نعم، ولعل إنشاء محكمة أبو ظبي التجارية كان له الأثر الإيجابي في تفعيل نصوص القوانين والإجراءات القضائية المعدلة والتي تهدف إلى دعم نظام المال والأعمال في الإمارة من خلال توسيع دائرة أوامر الأداء.
Okay, perhaps the establishment of Abu Dhabi Commercial Court.
وهي الأوامر.
Okay, تفضل بس ما تخلص الفقرة.
نعم، وهي الأوامر التي تصدر خلال فترة لا تجاوز 3 أيام من دون مرافعة وحضور الأطراف للمطالبات النقدية وتسليم المنقول المتعلق بإنفاذ العقود التجارية لأكثر من 15 عقداً و3 أوراق تجارية وإقرارات الدين المكتوبة بيقوم بها في عام 2020 1732 أمر بقيمة تتجاوز 3 مليارات درهم، بينما بلغ عدد الاستثناء المؤيد منها يعادل نسبة تجاوز 85%، بينما ألغي عدد 80 أمر، أي بما يعادل 4.6% من عدد الأوامر المحكوم بها، بما يجعل نسبة صحة 95%.
So the establishment of Abu Dhabi Commercial Court has a positive impact in implementing the articles of law and amending judicial procedures, which aim to support the business environment in the Emirate. This is proven by expanding the scope of ex parte payment orders, which are issued within a period not exceeding 3 days without pleading or the presence of both parties, in relation to money claims and handover of deliverables related to the execution of commercial contracts and written debt declarations. The number of orders rendered in 2020 was 1,732 orders for claims worthy of more than 3 billion dirhams, while the number of appeals was 535 appeals, almost 85% of which have been affirmed, and 80 orders were turned over, i.e. 4.6% of the total number of orders, making the validity of issued orders more than 95%. أيوة دكتور.
نعم. وقد عملت المحكمة وبالتعاون مع الإدارات المختلفة في الدائرة وبمساهمة شركائها المحليين والدوليين المبادرات والمساهمات التي تدعم اقتصاد الإمارة وتعتمد على كسر حاجز اللغة، ومنها اعتماد مجموعة من نماذج الصحف والأحكام القضائية متعددة اللغات لأكثر من 7 لغات عالمية.
حضرة القاضي.
تدشين نظام التقاضي.
So
من القيد وتحضير الدعوة. تفضل أستاذة فاطمة.
Okay. In cooperation with various divisions in ADJD and with the contribution of its local and international partners, the court has worked to launch a set of initiatives to support the Emirates economy while breaking the language barriers and enhancing legal knowledge, including the adoption of a set of multilingual claim forms and judgment templates in more than 7 international languages, the launch of digital litigation system in all stages of litigation, starting from registration, case preparation, trial hearings, enforcement procedures. رقم 3.
نعم، ومن ضمن المبادرات كذلك عقد جميع جلسات استخدام أحدث أنظمة الاتصال المرئي عن العالم. تفضل أستاذ.
Also, we have initiatives for conducting all trial hearings remotely using the latest video conference technologies.
نعم.
Yes.
واستحداث إجراءات مختصرة وتحديد فترات زمنية لتحضير الدعوة بحسب نوع القضية وقيمتها بمدة تقل عن 30 يوما قابلة للتمديد لمرة واحدة، وصولا إلى إنجاز القضايا في فترة لا تتجاوز 100 يوم ولا تزيد عن 10 جلسات كحد أقصى.
We have introduced urgent procedures where we set time limits for preparing cases, taking into consideration the type and value of cases with a period of less than 30 days. which can be extended or renewed once. So cases now are resolved in a period not exceeding 100 days and taking not more than 10 hearings.
وتمكين جميع الأفراد من الاطلاع وتحميل الأحكام القضائية.
Okay, so giving access to all individuals to view and download court judgments from the ADJD official portal.
نعم. وقد حققت والخامس دوليا في مؤشر إنفاذ العقود المعتمد من قبل البنك الدولي، ونتطلع إلى تحقيق المراكز الثلاثة الأولى في العام الحالي.
So the UAE has ranked the first position in the region and 8th position internationally in the Court Enforcement Index adopted by the World Bank, and we look forward to achieving the first 3 places this year.
نعم. في الختام يجب الإشارة إلى أن دائرة القضاء في إمارة أبو ظبي قد أثبتت نجاحها من خلال اعتماد خطة استباقية تضمن استمرارية العمليات القضائية دون توقف، بحيث بلغ عدد جلسات المحاكمة بما يتجاوز 15,000 جلسة تحضير ومحاكمة بحضور أكثر من 65,000 شخص، وهو ما يثبت نجاح هذه التجربة الفريدة. ونعتذر عن الإطالة وشكرا والسلام.
In conclusion, it should be noted that the Judicial Department has proven its success during the COVID-19 pandemic by adopting a proactive plan that guarantees the continuity of judicial processes and services without interruption. The number of sessions held at Abu Dhabi Commercial Court has reached more than 15,000 preparation and trial hearings, and more than 65,000 persons have virtually appeared before the court, which demonstrates the success of this unique experience. And thank you for your attendance.
Thank you very much. شكرا جزيلا جudge سلطاني وهالقاري من كلنا في مجلس العمل الأمريكيين في أبو ظبي وعن كل الحاضرين لهذه المؤتمر. I'd like to hand over now, please, to Dr. Ahmed Abdul Zahar, a legal consultant with the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department and also a professor from Cairo University, who will make a presentation also about the legal reforms that are being undertaken by the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department. Dr. Ahmed, the floor is yours.
I am delighted. Yes, thank you so much. I am delighted to be invited by the American Chamber of Commerce Abu Dhabi to participate in this webinar on how the judicial system in Abu Dhabi is being developed to attract foreign investors. And in the beginning, I would like to say Arabic language. I would like to in the beginning, the official language of the country as per Article 7 of the Constitution. As a result, it was reflected in the law that Arabic is the official language of the court too. In this situation, non-Arabic speakers faces many challenges such as understand the court documents, including pleadings, court notifications, and orders. Another challenge is creating unfair advantage to Arabic speaker litigant in the dispute. Dependency of experts on lawyers to understand the legal documents. We can mention also as a challenge lack of transparency of court . procedures, increasing the cost of litigation on non-Arabic speakers as they needed to translate each single document, even if it is not relevant. 2 years ago, was how the claim form looked like. As you see in the screen, this is which, and you can find the signature. This is the signature of non-Arabic speakers receive a copy of this claim written in Arabic, knowing any single word of this document. This was the situation 2 years ago. Why Abu Dhabi launched the bilingual court? We can speak first about GADAN 2021 plan. GADAN is an Arabic word. If we speak English word, this is tomorrow 2021 plan. In September 2018, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, launched tomorrow 2021 plan. According to this plan, it was essential about bilingual court. This project aims to make easy access to justice. Our intention also to avoid any challenges for Arabic speakers. We can also speak about equality in legal status between non-Arabic speakers and as a goal of our plan. This plan is considered by ourselves as a long-term project of user-friendly judicial procedures. This plan also reflects the demographics. Maybe it is very important to know a little bit about the demographics because the United Arab Emirates witnessed significant population increase during the past few years because of major growth in the various economic sectors, which led to influx of workers just background from 4.1 million in 2005 to roughly 2021. Out of this, the number of UAE citizens is around 11.5, and the remaining 88.5% made up of expats workers. These numbers reflect how it is very important to launch a similar project. And in United Arab Emirates, which is living and working in our country with multi-languages used in everyday life. What is the bilingual court? The bilingual court in the national court in the Middle East to use the second official language alongside with Arabic language. This project is, as I mentioned before, is considered as a long-term project under the direction of His Highness Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the chairman of Abu Dhabi Judicial Department and Council of Ministers and Residential Affairs of United Arab Emirates. And this project aims to modernize and innovate the court services. This project covers all stages of litigation and an equal access to judicial services without language bilingual court works. The project covers litigation and the court services available in both English and Arabic. This covers the following stages: dispute resolution, passing by case management, service of document, court form pleadings, and copy of judicial decisions. This is the page, electronic page of Abu Dhabi Judicial Department. If you go electronic site, you can find in the page of Judicial Department all instance court form. You can find it in English, Chinese, Hindu, Arabic, Spanish, French. But as we speak now to members of the American Chamber of Commerce, we'll speak only about the English language and Arabic language. We will not speak about other language. This project, in fact, we can speak about multi-language court, but I speak only about English and Arabic in this webinar because we speak to members of the American. This is an example of bilingual court forms. This is court. This is court order, and we can find all information in English and Arabic, defendant details, claimant details, defendant full name, phone, nationality, all information in English and Arabic. And also to facilitate the mission for seeking from the court, for example, temporary attachment, cancellation of circular, cancel all you want, all what you are seeking from the court. In Abu Dhabi Judicial Department also, we are interested in enhancing the legal awareness. That's why you will find in the forms what the law says to your case, and that help you, help litigant to go to access, even if you don't like to ask a lawyer to support you. Of bilingual court forms, this is employment claim, and as you know, employees need to hire lawyers. That's why we created this to help them to get access to court without lawyers, without help of any lawyer. We have several forms of bilingual court forms, and we invite you to have a look in our electronic site. You will find several bilingual court. I want to mention also that of artificial intelligence in judicial services, and His Highness Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed issued a decision number 33 of 2020 related to using artificial intelligence in judicial services. And I think it will be useful if we can hold another webinar about using artificial intelligence in judicial topic to continue our cooperation and the collaboration between Abu Dhabi Commerce Abu Dhabi. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. I appreciate your time with us. I'm sure everyone here in the audience learned quite a lot about the major changes that you're making with the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department. We have two speakers still, so I'd like to turn over the floor to Chloe Veronica Siron, also with the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department. She is a member of the Technical Office of the Undersecretary. Chloe, floor is yours.
Thanks, Charles. So first of all, it's a pleasure to be a part of this webinar. A big thank you to Charles and the rest of the AmCham team for having us here today. I really hope that we can continue to build on this relationship to keep you all as AmCham members updated about what we as a court are doing to benefit the expat community. So my speech will explore in brief, because I'm conscious of the time, some of the legislative developments that have occurred within the UAE over the past year, with a particular focus on changes that affect the expat community. So I'll first start by addressing the development of commercial laws. Restrictions on non-UAE ownership for UAE mainland companies have been a hallmark of the UAE companies law since its inception in 1984. The restrictions have capped non-GCC ownership in UAE mainland companies at 49%, with the remaining 51% shareholding held by one or more UAE nationals or companies wholly owned by UAE nationals. There has been much speculation within the legal community over the last 15 or so years as to the timing and the content of anticipated reforms, which would see the relaxation or removal of this requirement. In 2015, the UAE Commercial Companies Law number 2 of 2015, as amended, which I'm going to refer to as CCL, was issued, and this was a long-awaited development for many. The CCL did, however, maintain many of the foreign investment restrictions of its predecessors. So following this, in 2018, the UAE Cabinet issued the Foreign Direct Investment Law with the aim to relax the investment restrictions and facilitate the establishment of companies with up to 100% foreign capital in certain sectors. The FDI law itself set out a negative list of 13 activities for which an increased level of foreign ownership would not be permissible, and then the positive list of 122 activities across 3 sectors was then announced in March 2020, so only early last year. This was a welcome change and a milestone in the development of the UAE foreign investment rules. However, it hasn't been widely utilized by investors, and the government clearly recognized that further reform was required. Hence, in late 2020, the UAE President, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, issued Federal Decree Law number 26 of 2020, pursuant to which 51 articles of the Commercial Companies Law were amended. And it also included the addition of important new articles related to limited liability companies and public joint stock companies. So I'll just focus a little bit on foreign ownership. As for many, the most attractive change has been the amendments to Article 10 of the CCL. And this has, in principle, changed the default position, imposing at least 51% Emirati ownership in a limited liability company or joint stock company that is incorporated on mainland. And instead, they may be wholly owned by foreign nationals unless they are engaged in an activity which has a strategic impact. The cabinet will issue a resolution listing the activities of strategic impact, as well as the additional licensing requirements and controls. For those who seek to practice non-strategic activities, each Emirate's economic departments are granted the power to determine the percentage of UAE national shareholding in UAE mainland companies established in their emirate, as well as any required UAE national board participation. In addition, the new decree also opens the ownership of one-person limited liability companies to foreign investors and removes the requirement for a branch office of a foreign company in the UAE to appoint a UAE national agent, which could present an opportunity for cost savings for foreign companies. So how do these changes impact foreign ownership? Well, as it currently stands, the implications of the changes to foreign ownership remain unclear until the amendments made to Article 10 take effect, which is 6 months from the date of publication in the Official Gazette, which should take us to about the 30th of March 2021, so late next month. We will also need to see the government's strategy with respect to Emirati national involvement in various industries and sectors, and whether the UAE cabinet decision will take into account the FDI law's negative list in defining those activities having a strategic impact. To conclude, unless the strategic impact sectors are known, the non-strategic sectors cannot be determined. However, if the strategic impact list is limited in scope, the amendments will reflect a truly transformative reform to UAE foreign direct investment rules. Now, I'm just going to address the governance of limited liability companies and provisions of the companies law applicable to public joint stock companies. So the limited liability company legal form is the most commonly used business form for companies in the UAE, given its flexible nature and light regulation by the CCL. The new decree, however, imposes some amendments to the governance of limited liability companies that existing businesses should take note of. Article 104 of the CCL carries relevant public joint stock company provisions across to limited liability companies unless provided otherwise by the CCL. And clarity as to which of the provisions apply in this way is currently provided by Ministerial Decision number 272 of 2016. But the Federal Decree Law amends this article so that in the absence of any special provision in the CCL, limited liability companies will be subject to the articles applicable to public joint stock companies to the extent that such provisions suit the nature of limited liability companies. And Article 104, paragraph 2 states that a cabinet resolution will be passed to provide this clarity from now on. The following changes made to public joint stock company provisions are also likely to affect limited liability companies. So there is the extension of manager and director liability to members of the company's executive management. And given the closely held nature of many limited liability companies, this extension will only affect a small proportion of significant businesses which have a professional management team as well as a board. Also, Article 162 provides for the disqualification of any director or executive manager against whom a final judgment has been received in relation to fraud, conflict of interests, or misuse of power for a period of up to 3 years. And the amendments allow the same auditor to remain in place for up to 6 years, with a change in the lead audit partner after 3 years. However, the same audit partner may be reappointed after a 2-year gap. And just finally, in relation to the commercial laws, I'm just going to talk very briefly about some things that you should consider that might need to be changed in your Memorandum of Association. So in terms of a dispute resolution clause, Article 73 is a new provision which mandates that the MOA contains methods of dispute resolution between the company and its managers and directors, as well as between the shareholders. And invitations to General Assembly meetings must be sent at least 21 days prior to the scheduled date of the meeting, instead of the 15 days which was previously required. So we've actually reverted back to the pre-2015 position. And under Article 93, limited liability companies may provide for modern technological means by which notices may be sent to shareholders by a specific provision in their MOA. And this can include email and instant messaging, for example. The CCL also now allows meetings, including General Assembly meetings, to be held by modern technological means, which enables remote attendance, such as video conferencing, which I have to note, it's a largely welcome change in this current climate. As we can see today, there's huge benefits to allowing the engagement in meetings virtually. And the final provision that I think is worth mentioning as a representative of the court is Article 101. And this introduces a mechanism for any shareholder to obtain a court order to increase the share capital of the company to the extent necessary to avoid liquidation of the company or for the company to pay its debt. If the shareholder fails to pay the capital amount required, then his share in the company would be diluted accordingly. In terms of compliance, the decree law came into force on the 2nd of January 2021, except for the foreign ownership changes, which I previously mentioned take effect after 6 months from the date of publication. Under Article 4 of the decree law, companies are required to adjust their positions within 1 year of the effective date of the 2nd of January 2021, and a failure to do so will result in the company being deemed to be dissolved. And it's also important to note that there is a daily default fine of 100 dirhams for failure to adjust positions, although this is significantly less than the previous 2,000 dirhams per day provision. When we talk about making the UAE a more attractive destination for foreign investors, we really shouldn't only focus on commercial laws, but also the laws that directly affect individuals and their families. And several legal changes announced at the end of 2020 in addition to the commercial law changes, came as a welcome surprise to many. The Department of Culture and Tourism in Abu Dhabi issued a resolution announcing the cancellation of alcohol licenses. This is under the condition that alcohol can only be consumed privately or in a licensed public place. And also, the person consuming alcohol must be at least 21 years old to drink legally, and anyone caught selling alcohol to someone deemed underage will be punished accordingly. And you'll have also read that amendments were made to the personal status law. And according to the new law, if a couple who married in a foreign country applies for a divorce in the UAE, the laws of the country where the marriage took place will be applicable. And the changes also included changes to the inheritance process. When an expat passes away in the UAE, the laws of their country of nationality will now apply when dividing assets. As per the previous inheritance law in the UAE, the power would lie with the local courts to distribute the estate and appoint guardians for the children in accordance with Sharia law. In addition, and in an unprecedented move, the new law allows for the legal cohabitation of unmarried couples. Prior to this, so previously, it was a criminal offence for an unmarried couple to share a home in the UAE, which in some cases meant residents would not, or indeed could not, bring their families to live with them in the UAE because of these restrictions. The changes to the law that I've just mentioned, they have been made with an aim to reflect the UAE's continued attempt to improve living standards for the country's diverse community. The changes are also important factors for those looking to invest and will hopefully enhance the UAE's attractiveness for investment, both at a personal and commercial level and for business growth. Thank you all so much, and I'll now hand it over to Charles.
Thank you, Chloe. Very much appreciate your remarks, and you raise a lot of interesting issues, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk about them afterwards. If not today, then perhaps on a future occasion. But I'd like to just hand over now to our final speaker today, who is Judge Oren Whiting. He's, as you'll hear when he speaks, he's an American judge, and he is now a judge in the experts chamber of the major court of first instance in the Abu Dhabi Judicial Department. Judge Whiting, the floor is yours.
Charles, thank you very much, and just wanted to thank everyone. I understand the time is of essence here, and I will adjust my speech, but there are some things I definitely want to get in. So, number one, thanks for everybody for allowing us to speak to you. Look, I've been serving as a judge and a consultant and a judicial instructor for ADJD for about the last 18 months. I've been personally involved and seen many of the developments in the court. I want to remark on the Foreign Experts Chamber, how we operate, and what we as Abu Dhabi's main court and a government partner do to embrace the technology and to support the efforts to enhance the business environment in the Emirate. As my colleague so eloquently explained, Sheikh Mansour and the Undersecretary Yosef Saeed Al-Abri have launched several programs specifically designed to complement the country's efforts to embrace technology and to maintain the quality of judicial services provided in accordance with the highest international standard. Let's not forget, ADJD's objective is to provide an efficient and independent judicial system based on excellence that provides world-class judicial services. And coming from the US, I can definitely say that we are doing just that. I came from the US and started with the Foreign Experts Chamber. And before I started sitting, I had the benefit of sitting with many brethren and sisterin in the court, in other chambers, to understand how they work, what they do, and I was wildly impressed with the knowledge, ability, and camaraderie that my fellow judges showed us as being foreign, and I'll use quotes for foreign judges here. So a shout out to them. They have been wonderful, and they are absolutely fantastic jurists. Look, and I say we because there are three of us in the foreign experts chambers. There is an Emirati who runs the chamber, who is a young guy who is just over the top in intelligence. And frankly, he's a patriot and just over the top in ability. I have the honor of serving with a UK judge as well. And I, as many people remind me, the older one, serve from America. And I try to bring in a little bit of the American persuasion or perspective to the judge. The wonderful thing about ADJD is the embracing of technology. The court is leaps and bounds ahead of where I came from in the US with respect to technology. When COVID hit, we had about a 1-week hiccup in presiding over cases, and we immediately switched over to technological means by doing video conferences and hearings. So we did not skip a beat, and it was really impressive. Just to give you an example, my court at home shut down for 6 months. And I mean shut down. I don't mean didn't have personal hearings. They stopped. So litigation stopped in Chicago for 6 months. We had a hiccup for a week. So this is the real deal here. And what I want to do is give you a quick idea of how things happen behind the curtain, so to speak. You know, as a practicing lawyer in Chicago, I practiced for about 28 years before I was appointed to the bench there. I always wanted to know what judges thought. And what I want to do is give you a quick idea of a day in the life of what happens at ADJD. Look, here, cases are filed, okay? And as as Dr. Ahmed eloquently pointed out, the system here has made it incredibly easy for entities and individuals to file cases in multiple languages. What happens is the cases are filed, they go to case management. And case management here is kind of a pretrial system where we have judges and individuals responsible for basically getting the case ready and making sure that certain things are taken care of procedurally and legally. And if certain things cannot be settled, the case ends up coming to us. And when I say us, I mean the Foreign Experts Chamber up in the first instance court. What we do, there are three of us, as I've said. We have the first hearing, and we try to get an understanding of what's going on. From an American perspective, we always want to try to settle the case. So the one thing I always jump in and say is, look, can we come to some kind of agreement with this? And we will gladly give you guys time to sit down, or we will sit down with you and try to give you a little bit of assistance in coming to a realistic assessment of what your claims and or defenses may be. Now, obviously settlement is not required, but if you can settle a case, it's much quicker, it's judicially efficient, it's economically efficient, and it gets people out of the way and able to conduct their business and go on about their business. And it also gives us as judges time to go and get to the more complex cases that may not be settlable and may just need the time to go and get things done. What we try to do is manage the cases as quickly and efficiently as possible. Again, coming from a different system, I had to adjust and adapt to this system. But the beauty of our chief judge here is the desire to make sure that we are, in fact, a world-class system. And frankly, we are, in the sense that we will do whatever we can to get the case resolved. And since there are three of us, I look at it as almost a mini appellate court at the introductory level. Back in the US, individual judges make the decisions and you go to the appellate court, and that's when you get 3 judges, and you go to the Supreme Court, and depending on what state, you get anywhere from 9 to 14. Here we've got 3 judges at the beginning. So in my opinion, 3 heads are better than 1. So the 3 of us get together, and what helps is we all get along, and frankly, I think we're friends, and I'm proud to call my 2 colleagues friends, and I respect their ability, and I expect their common sense and their opinions. And we get together, and our desire, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but our desire is to put the appellate court out of business. We want to make the right decision at this level. And we don't care who it is, we don't care what it is. We want to apply the law to the facts, which is our job. And we want to do that as efficiently and expeditiously as possible. So what we do is we hold the litigants' feet to the fire. That doesn't mean that we are cruel and inhumane. We have hearts, we're human. And, Dr. Ahmed and I will fight at some point later over AI, where there are arguments about having robots taking the place of judges. That's not the case here. We understand. I practiced for 28 years, and the beauty of this is I was in the position of the lawyers appearing before me, as is or was my colleague from the UK. So we understand what's going on here, okay? So our objective is to make the right decisions and using our knowledge of the law and of reality to come to the right conclusion. Now, in this system, we have experts, and we assign cases to experts. I must admit, coming from the US, I was used to doing all of this on my own, but I see the benefits of having an expert committee sit down and go through the cases. It actually makes it more efficient and makes it more accurate for the litigants. So we farm out the cases to experts when necessary. And when the expert gives the report, we then reconvene and we talk all the time, and we do this face to face. We come to the office and we sit down and we hash things out. We argue, we fight, we give various perspectives. But the way this works is we exercise every single aspect of the law and the facts, and we come to a decision on this. And our chief assigns us the opinions. He takes some, sometimes he gives them to me, sometimes he gives them to my colleague. And even then, after we finish our decisions, we all review the decisions. So you've got almost a triple layer of decisions and review on these cases. And we thus give the decisions and we publish them. The beauty of this system is it's becoming more transparent because now these cases and our opinions are being published for the public to see, okay? And so we want everyone looking at what we're doing because we are confident in what we're doing. And the one thing I want to say is judges talk. The beauty of the system is I have made many friends outside of our chamber in the other chambers. I will walk down to talk to an Egyptian judge. I will walk down to talk to a Tunisian judge. I will walk down the hallway and talk to anyone who I've had the benefit of becoming acquainted with and ask their opinion about certain things. I do not, obviously, well, I shouldn't say we do not breach any confidences or anything else, but the more that we are sure about applying the facts that we are given to the law that we have to apply, the better it is for the litigants. Look, this system here is very flexible. Everyone has a right to appeal, as everyone should. But I sheepishly but arrogantly say, I want to put the appellate court out of business because we want to make the right decision. That's no disrespect to anyone else, but we want litigants to be assured that they are getting the right decisions when they come to ADJD. And I can say that I am proud to be a part of what ADJD is doing. And we do a really, really good job. I can talk about this forever, but my time is limited, and I will end my presentation there.
Thank you very much, Judge Whiting. Really, really appreciate it. I'd like to thank all four of the panelists, actually, because it's been really very interesting. And to be honest, we don't hear very much directly from the government of Abu Dhabi on these kinds of matters. And it's very encouraging to see what is being done to improve the administration of justice and the overall system of governance in Abu Dhabi. So thank you to Judge Sultan Al-Nayati. Once again, thank you to Dr. Ahmed Abdul Zahir. Thank you to Chloe Siron, and thank you to Judge Oren Whiting. I think we have a couple of questions that have come in, and we have maybe 7 minutes or so before we all have to get back to other work, speaking for myself anyway. So Chloe, I think we've got a few questions. Can you please just route those around? I think Sharuk has a question here. Chloe, can you route the questions to the members of the panel? And let's see if we can address them the next 7 minutes or so. Thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. So we have some questions. Charles has sent them to me. If we don't have time to address them today, what we propose is that maybe at a future event, we'll be able to do so, because I know that time is short. So just following on from Judge Oran's speech, we have a question saying, how effectively can you urge the parties to a dispute to reach settlement?
Look, we are the sitting judges. And so once a case is filed, we have control and jurisdiction over that case. We cannot order a settlement, but we can certainly sit down with the parties, hear them out, and again, understanding their positions and understanding the law, we can, and again, we cannot predetermine what a case is going to, or how a case is going to come out. But what we can do is say, look, your facts are this. The law says this. So if I were in your position, I would say, okay, I don't have a pretty good chance of getting what I want. So maybe I should readjust what I think I should get. Look, believe me, I understand that parties are passionate about their positions. And I understand that lawyers are paid to argue and defend and represent their parties' positions. But at some point, there's going to be a decision made. And if you have the decision, if you have an opportunity to make your own decision, it's better to make your own decision than to make me or us make the decision for you. So it's kind of a touchy-feely thing where you get people together, and what we found is many times entities or parties just want to be heard. And that's important. If you let people or companies or entities explain their positions and you have a conversation and a meeting of the minds, many times it'll settle. Now, there are certain times where parties just have unreasonable expectations and it's not going to settle. We don't spend a lot of time with that. And we say, look, we think, it's not going to settle. We don't give opinions about that. And we just go forward.
Thank you, Judge Oran. We have another question. Maybe Dr. Ahmed could answer this if he's available. Will the courts continue to function remotely after the passing of the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, after the coronavirus pandemic, His Highness Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed issued the decision number 71 of 2020 concerning an action plan for post-coronavirus crisis. According to this action plan, we have the intention to continue our services remotely. As the Chief Lord of British Justice said, after coronavirus will not be will not be the same before coronavirus. Coronavirus crisis changed the world deeply, and now we are in another stage, and we never go back again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed, we also have another question, which is to do with the bilingual court forms. The question is, for claims filed in different languages, I assume they are translated into Arabic for the proceedings. How quickly are these documents translated, and what is the manpower involved?
Doc seems to be having technical issues. Look, the parties are required to have certain documents translated, but as an American judge who is trying to learn Arabic, we have an amazing translation team, and one of them is on the phone on the line right now. I have to say that the quality of the translation interpretation is fabulous. There is not anything lost, and frankly, the team really has come together and has worked with us we who are not fluent in Arabic to provide, I wouldn't say seamless, but a pretty good operation.
Thank you, Judge Oren. Actually, let's finish on a question that's just been asked of you, and it says, what is the usual turnaround time for the expert chambers to make a decision or settle cases that can be settled?
I'll take that as two questions. We try to get cases done in under, I think 3 months is fair. We try to do it a little quicker than that. And again, it's because we want to give the parties an opportunity to present all of their facts and all of their arguments. And you have to give parties, every time somebody files something, it's another 20 days, okay? And we also have to give the experts an opportunity to do their jobs. And then parties have an opportunity to comment on what the experts have done. So believe me, our desire is to get things done as rapidly as possible, but not at the expense of the parties' rights. So 3, 4, 5 months seems to be the way we're going right now. Of course, there are cases that will go on for a year if they're complicated and there are things going back and forth, or there's a requirement for additional experts or what have you. We have absolutely no tolerance for delays just because. And it is funny, some of the conversations that we have about it, because again, my colleagues and I, we've been there. We know what the lawyers are doing, and we understand the lawyers have to do their job, but we have to do our job as well. Now for settlement, look, I am patient. I will sit down with somebody every day for a month if it's going to save 3 months of time, and if it's going to save money. So settlement, you can't give a number on it. It depends on how reasonable or unreasonable parties are going to be, and it depends on how realistic they're going to be.
Okay, thanks very much. Can I, if you'll bear with me, I think I'm going to cut it off there and close by thanking once again our panelists, Judge Sultan El-Nayadi, Dr. Ahmed Abdul Zahir, Ms. Chloe Siren, and Judge Oren Whiting. Some really interesting bits of information about what the government of Abu Dhabi is doing and plans to do going forward. And I think all of us on the call have learned quite a bit. A lot of things, for me, I didn't know a lot of this. So it's been very useful for me. Thank you very much. And I know how much time it takes to put in the preparation for this. So again, thank you doubly for all of that. Thank you, Fatin, for your translation work. I know how difficult it is to translate. It's a very highly skilled job, and you did a very good job. And everybody else, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did and learned something. And I, again, watch this space for more events of the Legal Affairs Committee. We've got a pretty busy spring coming up between now and Ramadan and then after Ramadan. So thank you very much for your time and your attention and your questions. And watch this space. We'll meet again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Joe.